Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Monday. This is Sharon Herbert, the Power RN, coming to you live once again from Power in Nursing. And we are so glad to be host to you today. Once again, Sharon Herbert, the Power RN. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'm Power in Nursing on every Facebook site. It's easy to find me. And you can just, look at my beautiful face and my batting eyelashes, and you'll be in the right place. I'm here for you, and purely I rally for you. I've been a nurse for many decades, but at this point, we are at a really scary place in nursing, in the profession of nursing. So, you all know you're here. You know what we do, and you know why we do it. And you know that you're here because you love what you do every day. Through the pandemic and other stressors or challenges, we still rally to care for our patients and do the work that we love. So today, I've seen some interesting articles in the last few days. We talked about, last week, we talked about a strike that was in New York that took several long hours of discussion to come to a temporary solution that actually will take 3 years for the total impact and program to be on the scene and available for nurses. So that's one thing. It's a long time. But even today, I saw an article about another organization who's pending a nursing strike based on the nursing challenges that are being met by nurses from the leaders. And we can call leaders the business side or the leadership side, but they're still struggling with the pay. And we have many, many reasons that we have been near or at the table about the way that nurses receive compensation for the work that we do. So, in that time, we're still struggling. We're still facing stressors and challenges, and many of them are the same year after year after year. Short staffing, salary, mandatory overtime. There are a number of them. Whether you can have days off. Way back when we would get a real great opportunity, at least yearly, to participate in continuing education, the hospital organization would pay for you to be moving forward in your practice every year. Those things have gone away. And as we are today, we are still in a place and space where it's almost like we're fighting or in contest. Maybe we're not fighting, we're in contest with our leadership component based on the still compensation for nurses. And an interesting article that I've read, and I've seen them before, but it just piqued my interest today about the staffing ratios. Now, you all know what staffing ratios are, unless you just graduated from your School of Nursing, and you're not quite sure what a lot of this is yet, but you probably know about salary. So, what is happening with staffing ratios? Way back when the Kaiser Foundation uh, fairly challenged staffing ratios being erased from the discussion or the production of regulations, rules, SOPs, guidelines for staffing. And that started in California. And it's still going on and on, but you can use that as a reference if you want to ever look back at how that all started. But it has wiggled its way and dribbled its way through the U.S. to almost every state. There's a discussion about the challenges related to staffing. And you know what? Hmm, your leaders really don't quite put that at the top of the list of things to discuss with you or consider. Staffing ratios, it's difficult. If you ever even looked at the research, which I suggest you do if you have nothing to do on a cold, rainy day, and see how this all has come to be. Now, if you work in an ICU, you probably already know about this particular uh, challenge. And it is that this patients in ICU, once upon a time, they were staffed as one to one because they were critical, they had high needs, and they would have one nurse, and that one nurse would have that one patient. But as the world has changed, some parts of it were made easier to squeeze because of new technology. Whether they were IV pumps, because you all just don't know some old facts, FACTS, about nursing, and the IVs were monitored and managed by drips, drips per minute. And that means you had to count the drips per minute. But now there is technology that feeds the drips in mils per minute, hour, whatever you set it to be. And you don't have to set it or reset it until the alarm rings off in probably about the 3 hour time limit, or if you're giving a bolus, whatever you set it to be. So you don't have to rush there every 5 minutes to see if it's still dripping or if it's clogged or if it's stopped. So that has decreased some of the task work that we've had to do. But in the meantime, patients are getting sicker, sicker, and sicker. And they're coming to the hospital when they're sickest, not when they just want to say hello and can you check, to see if their veins look good in case they have to come back to the hospital. Those things have changed how we need to care for the patients. The patients are sicker. And if you still have the same number of nurses that you had back in the day, it's not going to be enough to care for the sickest patients that you have. And sometimes the patients require two nurses because of the status of their condition. Well, if you only had one yesterday and you're only going to be scheduled to have one today, that's going to be a challenge to serve and care for that patient. But as we go back to the staffing ratios, if we have staffing ratios, that could be helpful in creating the scenario for the types of patients that we serve and the numbers of nurses that are needed to care for those types of patients. And that is part of the formula to look at the number of patients that are on the unit versus their status and factoring in the number of staff you will need to care safely for those patients. And that's how you come up with how many nurses you'll need. Now, that doesn't mean you'll have that many, but how many will you need? And if you only have one and you need two, that's going to be a struggle for the nurse. And even in addition, on top of that, if you don't have unit clerks, if you don't have respiratory therapists, if you don't have lab techs, if you don't have dietary staff, that is a huge challenge for that one nurse. But if you look on the paper, the staffing ratio says, oh, this patient requires one nurse. Well, that could be true. But the nurse can't do all of the tasks that have been done by ancillary staff. And ancillary staff are certainly an important part of the healthcare team. So when we talk about staffing ratios, that generally is in respect to nurses. So what happens when you don't have your ancillary staff? It is really a struggle and a stressor to be able to provide best care and services for your patients. And remember, your patients come with families. Your patients come with families. And nurses are the ones at the bedside that will most often be communicating with the patients and the families. So that's just another addition to the things that we do every day. And if we're only looking at the number that the staffing ratio designates that we should need, you bet something else is going to happen. A patient is going to code. You're going to get a new admission. Something is going to happen. Your one patient will now go to surgery. And now, as a post-op patient, will need more care than they needed before they went to the operating room. So many challenges that we face every day. And once upon a time, this still happened. Same things still happen. 50 years later, those same things are still happening, with exception of the technology. The needs for the patient's communication, medications, those things will still be, in essence, the services and care that nurses provide. But here we are, still facing COVID, still facing challenges with staffing and communication. And even if you have a schedule that designates the number of staff that you need for the day based on the number of patients that you have, your charge nurse is on pins and needles, not showing it to you, but understanding that an admission can come at any time, and she still has the same number of nurses that the shift started with, and a patient can go bad at any time, and you still have the same number of nurses you started with. And they spend their moments in the morning thinking, okay, so what's my plan B? Because we have to have one. We have to at least designate a plan B that we hope we never have to use. In the interim, The number of nurses is indeed a number, but the number of nurses doesn't designate the capacity of any of those nurses that are working or assigned to be working today. If you have a staff scheduled of 5 senior registered nurses in the ICU, you're probably feeling pretty okay if you have a staffing ratio that says 5 nurses. But if 4 of those nurses are new graduates, are in orientation for half of the day, and or if you as the charge nurse have only been on the unit and working as a registered nurse for 6 months, you're going to be feeling a lot of anxiety, hoping no one goes bad and no patient's family challenges you and there are no admissions, because those things are not factored in to the number of nurses that you need. And when you're on a critical unit, your patients are sick. It's not that they never could be sick anywhere else, but they're already sick. When you get there, they're already sick. So if you had a discharge for the day from the ICU, you would be so thankful, except for I bet your friends on the surge or step down unit won't be so happy with you. But those things we can't change, but we must be thoughtful about the care and service we can provide based on the capacity of the nurses for the day. If your one senior nurse called in sick, you probably want to take a really big and deep breath. If your 4 other staff are new grads from last June, you're going to be thinking, let's see, who can I who, who can I trust to be able to do X in time of need? And that is really the truth. So as staffing ratios are created, it doesn't factor in the number of queens versus pawns that you have on the chessboard, or the number of kings or knights versus pawns on the chessboard. You've got to think about that, because no, that is not a factor in the creation of the contracts for the organization to factor in the capacity of the staff versus the numbers. They're in a numbers game. And that is the business of the business. So we are not saying that they should not be factoring in the numbers, because you better know that you need to have supplies. You need to have paper for the printer, ink. You need to have working laptops. And those are things you must have. What did we say? PPE for the beginning of the pandemic? It was in crisis. Minimal numbers of gowns and gloves, reusing those over, masks that you had to wash and use again because you didn't have enough supplies. So those things, budgets and things like those guidelines, policies, and procedures aren't created today. They've been worked on prior to this based on services, outcomes, results, donations in the past. So that is the forecast that no one's forecast a pandemic and thought, oh, we have to stack up and stock up on PPE. This all came in a crush and it became a crisis for health organizations. So they don't have a crystal ball either. So they can't predict the future for those things that are out of their control. So, how many boxes of gloves we have? They're not going to stack up and stock up on 1,000 of something that they don't forecast ever using or needing. So, those same things happen with numbers for nurses. And just know there is nothing that they can predict about how many nurses they will need when a pandemic surges. They have to see what's there because it would not make sense for their organization to bring in, oh, 1,000 nurses because they think a pandemic is going to surge and it's going to be horrible here in Podunk, Podunk, and it doesn't come. And the nurses would get paid, all of the other staff would get paid, and it wouldn't be in service to the continuing good care for that organization. That would be a waste. So, what do we do? It's like, how do we think together to make this a win for everybody? A win-win. The organizational leaders are not there to throw away money, nor are the nurses there to be worked, and worked without fair, and we know life ain't fair, without fair and commensurate compensation for the work that they do. And what does it mean to you, nurses, to have the power to be able to propose some great solutions that you consider based on what you know about the world of healthcare and healthcare systems? Now, if you only decide that you will ask for an increase in salary, you're going to be up against a wall. It won't be an easy conversation, and it probably won't be resolved in the way that you choose. So think about, as you're on that chessboard, how can we move forward to get a win, and how can our opponent or the other contestant feel good about the way they've been able to move in the system as well? We've got to think about that. What service can we offer? We do our best each and every day. Care and service is our mantra. So we are never going to say we're not going to serve well. But what can we provide that can help us better understand where the other contestant is posing their solutions? They're looking for you to come with some resolutions that they can consider in respect to your compensation. So we've got to do those things. And we don't all, either of us, have all of the answers. But we know when we're on that chessboard who has the power. Who has the power? So we must be mindful of the solutions that we share and give the other side a chance to look at how those solutions could work, whether those solutions could be tweaked, whether those solutions are dead on arrival. Give them something to work with. If you could have a hand in managing your schedule, would that be something that could be workable for you? If you could have the opportunity and option to switch a day with a colleague who can fill your shoes and you fill theirs, if you don't like Fridays because that is the day that your daughter has ballet uh, practice, and you find a member of the staff who doesn't mind working Fridays for you, if you work Mondays for him or her, bring those types of solutions to the table. Be thoughtful of the future because we just can't work to fix today. The future is coming, and if you know, staffing shortages have been a challenge for decades and decades and decades. So be thoughtful about what you propose for the discussion. Give them something to work with and speak together with your groups before you go and lay down in front of the office of the president of the organization and say, well, we're going to strike. Working together. It's about communication because they care for the organization and the credibility of the organization in the public as well as you do. So working together can help you come to better resolutions. Staffing ratios are still and can still be a good part of you coming to a resolution. But remember, there is communication. Remember, communication and relationships help us maintain some cool, you know, tamp down that anxiety as well. And think about yourself. If you thought back to the last time you were on an airplane and you sat there and you said, oh yeah, they're going to do the safety presentation. We know what that means. That means when something goes awry and the oxygen mask drops down, you put your oxygen mask on first so that you can be safe because health and wellness is important. And you must be able to safely help others be safe and well. If you don't have your oxygen mask on, you're not going to be of any help to those who need your care and service. So make sure you are in the mindset of knowing where your place in space is in case of emergency. Put your oxygen mask on first. Your safety and self-care allows you to think better, not so anxious all the time, and you come to a place where you say, okay, well, I'm working this Friday and next Friday. I'm going to ask Susie if she can switch with me. The last time she did, I'll work for her. And we're thoughtful about our practice and the safety of the patients and the organization credibility. And it also gives me a chance to spend time with my family on that Friday now. We're going to go to the ballet practice, and then we'll go out and get some ice cream after the practice, and that gives me time to spend quality time with my family. Or it could be your friends that you haven't seen in a good while because you all always went out on Fridays after work, but your schedule got changed because of the pandemic. So be thoughtful and mindful, and don't use that one person till they, have a lot of stress and anxiety as well. Working together is so important. So, as we're thinking of staffing ratios, staffing, mandatory overtime, think of keeping happy and healthy as you can. It's a challenge. Nursing is not always an easy job, and I hope no one told you it would be when you came into the profession. We've got to work, and we work hard, and we know that. It's not a new thing. But as well, you have to take care of yourself. You must be empowered to seek your inner strength and your power to be able to do well for yourself. If you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling back pain, foot pain, headaches, nausea, those things are important for you to take care of. You can't keep going, and going, because we know we've heard of self-care, and we probably put a lot to the side saying, well, I'll make a doctor's appointment and I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Be mindful. Be mindful of care for yourself. You are irreplaceable. You can't you can't be replaced. Your family needs you. Your friends and loved ones miss you on those Fridays when you come with your stories about your new scrubs, and you show them your new shoes and all the colors, and they love them. And then you all get to have fun when you talk about your upcoming events, whether they're birthdays, weddings, those things that you've been missing. Be empowered to think, and that allows you to do, which prompts you to be. Think, do, be. Be empowered in 2023. This is the Power RN, Sharon Herbert, and I'm coming to you from Power in Nursing Innovations. We're going to do better for ourselves in this year. It's the year of change, and it's the year of promoting the future of nursing. Think, do, be. Be empowered in 2023. Thank you so much for coming out today. And we're talking about you being empowered. Empowered to be your best you, and that means you've got to take care of you. Be well, my friends. I will see you soon. And this is Monday Nurse's Life. It's all about you. and your life is so important. We'll see you soon. Thanks, and bye bye now.